Hello, everybody. We are doing something different this week. So let me go ahead and update all of you wherever you may be listening to this. I am currently living in a hotel, in case you missed that piece, especially for those of you who are listening to this on YouTube, or the podcast. Let me just tell you what's going on. So I'm sure you've been aware that my content has been in transition right now for like the last 6 months. I've been trying to figure out what exactly I want to do with the tarot readings on YouTube. I haven't been 100% sure where this whole thing is going to be going. So, one element that I want to bring into weekly messages from here on out is stuff that I get in meditation, because I get a lot in meditation, and so tarot has been making me feel like I'm crammed in a box, and I don't like feeling limited to only the 78 archetypes that are existing in tarot. And so meditation is where I get a lot of the juicy bits, or just fragments of my life where I'm learning and experiencing things that I would like to share with you. Because one of the really frustrating things about being an intuitive who shares messages with the world is that being of service and sharing with you all is like, that is what I'm here to do. If I'm not doing that, then I can't breathe. That's how important it is to me. So when there's something that's jamming up the works for me, when it comes to my content, it's soul crushing. It's not just something that's a minor inconvenience. It feels like I'm not doing what I'm on this planet to do. So this week's messages, I'm going to be giving to you in audio form. I'm streaming live on Clubhouse right now. So if you want to follow me, it's Reverend Sydney Finn on Clubhouse. And I'm also going to be posting these on YouTube in the podcast. So you can listen to these, but I'm going to be making them a hybrid of the download that I received for you to bring to these weekly messages, and probably some tarot cards as well, if you're down for that. And for those of you who are really worried about not being able to see the cards that I'm using, I just want to let you know I'm using the Morgan Greer deck today, so you're not missing out on any of the imagery from the cards, because it's very basic, very traditional. There's nothing particularly special about the deck. It's the one that I use for my clients, so you're not missing out on the visual component like you would be if I was doing my fancy multi-deck readings on YouTube. So I just wanted to clear that up now. And when I started doing this, because I think this will be helpful for those of you who create or struggle to figure out what to put into the world when it comes to any creative projects or any endeavors that you're doing, I firmly believe that it's important to listen to spirit, God, the universe. And lately, I've really been resistant to that. I don't have an issue with this when it comes to paid offers. If it's like a workshop that I'm doing, or a service that I'm providing, that's all fine and good. I can follow that like a piece of cake. But I've been struggling with this around my free content and what I'm doing with my messages that I'm giving you. So I knew I wanted to incorporate the meditation aspect and like listening to whatever wants to come through, whether that be an experience from my own life or something that I can just help you with. And so today I was in the bath, and I put away all the distractions when I'm in the bath as much as I possibly can, unless I want to read in there or something. But I went into the bath with the intention of figuring out and receiving the download of what I needed to relay to you. And the message that I got was authenticity. That was the first thing that came through. You need to talk about authenticity. You need to share that with them. And I immediately resisted it. I was like, no, I have absolutely nothing to say about authenticity. That's a boring topic. I'm not into it. And so then God was like, okay, so don't. all right, whatever you don't want to share, it's fine. But then right after that happened, it clicked, and it completely ties into my own life, ironically enough. So when I got the message of, okay, you need to share authenticity with the people, I realized that this is something that's been coming up a lot in my work, and in basically some judgments that I was holding against myself, because I've been dealing with some really wicked, chaotic feminine energy that I've been trying to massage and figure out what to do with her. And if you're not familiar with chaotic feminine, that energetic pattern, what it essentially is like you wanting to blast off into the void of infinite consumption. So if you find yourself going unconscious and like endlessly scrolling Instagram or endlessly consuming content or just going into a rabbit hole of videos, that is what I would describe as chaotic feminine, because it's endless everything, or the energy of everything that's not nothing and never feeling full enough or complete enough or satiated. And it's just this endless thirst, or I believe in Eastern philosophy, this might be referred to as the hungry ghost, just never being satiated. And I've had this come up more and more lately, and it's been particularly frustrating because I haven't known how to work with it. You can't overcompensate with masculine energy. You can't suffocate it to death. There's a particular dance that I have to do with this energetic pattern. So the first thing that I did was just let myself go into the void. Okay, just go for it. Okay, I felt like, all right, this is what I'm doing in this moment, so I'm just going to fully own that. I'm just going to allow myself to do that. And then that didn't really shift anything for me. So I said, okay, I'm going to try to push myself a little bit more. I'm going to push myself to make some content. I'm just going to show up for it, and I'm going to force it. So I tried recording a podcast on luxury by force, and it did not work. It was a hot mess. I could not stay on topic for the life of me. I did not like what I was putting out. It was not the truth of the moment. And this is where I got the big aha. That's where the authenticity download really came from, which is, if you are not tapping into the truth of the moment, you're going to be inauthentic in your expression. And for me, that's something that I catch really easily within myself. So I don't usually put out the things that don't feel true for me. So you guys don't see any of that. That's all stuff that I usually discard before it sees the light of day. So that's where the main disconnect was in terms of content, is if it's not speaking the truth of the moment, then it's not going to work. Okay, so you can have a skeleton or you can have an idea, but if it's not true, then that's what's going to lead to inauthenticity. That's when it kind of puts a bad taste in your mouth, and that's where it doesn't land as well with other people. Let me see what the other half of this was, because there was a second part of this message. Let me tune in. Hold on. Okay. So I'm in a mastermind right now, and masterminds, I have mixed feelings on them. I think they're great for some things and bad for other things, but that's a different discussion. But what I decided to do was I brought the chaotic feminine to the group. I said, hey, I'm dealing with this. I feel like I just catch myself wanting to go unconscious, and I'm having a hard time putting some reins on this. And I'm like, am I just a do-nothing lump? At this point in time, I'm really not a fan of that, this persistent energy that I'm dealing with. And like 6 other people were like, oh yeah, thank you for saying that. I deal with that too. 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 And once that happened, that I spoke to the truth of the moment, right? What was being reflected in my reality, the experience that I was having. I shared it with the group. I was met with, yes, we do that too. Yes, we completely understand that. We're dealing with that too. All of a sudden, the resistance completely melted because it allowed me to feel into, oh, this isn't abnormal. It's not just me. It has nothing to do with me being a bad practitioner or my content sucking or me not being a clear, I don't like the word channel, but not being a clear channel for my soul and for my spiritual work that I'm here to produce. And once I realized that I wasn't alone in that, then it completely melted. There was no more resistance. It was just something that has permission to be without judgment, and that softened it. And then, ironically enough, that opened up the door to me doing some self-care activities that I haven't done in a while. It opened up my excitement to jump on Clubhouse and record this. It just bled into a whole bunch of other things that I was able to do. And so that is the big thing with authenticity, is when you're bringing truth to your audience, or you're bringing truth to your work, or you're bringing the truth and the vulnerability to a group that you're in or to a practitioner that you're working with, simply airing that out and being honest in that expression is where all of the gems live. That's how you get the really good results. And this isn't always easy to do in every single context. So, for example, with myself, I know that the place where I have the hardest time doing this is in my romantic life. So I have a tendency to want to work out as much as I can on my own before showing it to a romantic partner. I don't want I don't want them in the business until I'm really clear on it. But unfortunately, romantic relationships are not sterile like that. So it doesn't really work. You have to bring more vulnerability. You have to reveal your heart in many contexts. You have to be willing to go push yourself a little bit more, or at least for me, that's my work in this life. But when it comes to like being with a therapist or being with a really good friend, there isn't as much of that resistance for myself. So you might find that you have a lot of fear. You might find that you have a lot of resistance and gridlock around authenticity in work, for example, or putting yourself out there online. I feel, honest to God, I feel like I have an easier time just telling a bunch of strangers certain nuggets of my life than I would someone who's actually closer to me. That's the avoidant part of me, right? So learning to dance with that piece is where you can get a lot of healing around authentic expression. When I initially heard authenticity, I thought, I just really judged it. I was like, that's a ridiculous topic. I don't like that, because I think of like people who are like, oh, how you crack the code to authenticity. And I don't think it's that simple. And I don't think that it's an energy that you can hold 24/7, because in certain contexts, authenticity could be dangerous, if that makes sense. So if you have a lot of trauma around family, so when I'm thinking about, well, in a part of myself that would not be authentic is at like a family dinner or a family gathering. When I'm around my family, I lose my personality around like the whole family unit. I cannot be myself. I cannot be authentically expressed in that environment because there's too much wounding. And I have no desire to fix this. It's not important to me. It's not something that I want to put energy in. I'm 100% landed in that reality, and I don't desire to change it. So again, just by me sharing this with you, that what is authentic and true for me is that I do not wish to give that situation energy, and I do not want to change that reality at this point in time with the understanding that that could change for me down the line. That is authenticity, just by me naming this truth about myself and then sharing it. So anyway, that is my spiel on authenticity. That was a piece of a download that came through, so I'm sharing that with you. And yeah, let's move on. Let's pull some cards, shall we? Okay. And the way that I'm going to lay this out, for those of you who are wondering, I'm basically going to start with, let's just do a Celtic cross. Let's just keep it simple. And I'll explain the positions so you don't have to do any work. I'll let you know what's going on. Oh, and by the way, this Celtic cross is going to be for February 7th to the 13th of 2021. So the central energy of the week is the Eight of Cups, and this is about a change in perception. So putting on a new set of glasses, working with new tools, new strategies. I think this has to do with that Aquarian Mercury retrograde, right? We're in the Aquarius season, and one of the pieces of this is innovation. So when I think about changing the mind or changing the perception, I'm also considering that has to do with innovating how you're approaching things. Because if you're going to change your mind in some way, you're going to have to innovate and figure out what does work for you. So it can take some finessing. And I think there's a lot of that going around right now. Maybe you're reviewing, editing, making adjustments to what you're doing. So go fully into allowing yourself to make those fine-tune tweaks so that you can come out on the other side of this transit in particular in a better position than you started in. Okay, and then the crossing energy this week, we have the Five of Cups. So it's kind of like you're turning your lemons into lemonade, right? So that's how this whole thing started. Was I was scared to give the message around authenticity because I thought it was stupid and I was being grouchy about it. And then it completely made sense. And now I'm here recording this thing, delivering it to you. So make sure you're seeing them all the way through, because this is, in part, they're both changing your mind cards. So the Five of Cups, if you're not familiar with the imagery of it, there's 3 spilled cups and then 2 cups that are still full. It's just that the guy on the card isn't looking at the 2 cups that are still standing. So the whole point is, look at what works, look at the gifts, find the silver lining if you haven't done that already. Make sure you're putting your attention and your focus and your energy on things that actually matter, and don't sweat the small stuff. This is particularly with like a fixed Mercury retrograde on top of that. It can be something that you can get overly fixated on details or be upset about details. And so if you can pay attention, be mindful, but not get locked into it, that's going to be a big help for you this week. Okay, what you have moving out is the Page of Pentacles. So I think you've already had the inspiration or the idea or the aha. I think a lot of what you're doing this week is you've already had the clarity come. The intention has already come. So now you're just in implementation mode. You're actually doing the thing. You're making the moves. You're shifting your perspective. This could be more of an internal shift, but you've already decided what it is that you want to do. You might be able to hear some people that are outside of the door. Okay, so let's see what's in the oncoming energy. We have the Eight of Wands. Yes, take your time now. Take plenty of time right now so that you can move quickly when you either feel the burst of energy or when you feel the inspiration. Remember, don't depend on motivation, but sometimes if you get a hit of motivation, you can ride that out. I'm getting that your tank is going to be more full, but if you're feeling like you need to be slower, you might be confusing that with low energy, okay? And if you're feeling like you don't have any energy, then I would go to, you need to make some refining adjustments for yourself so that you can go faster. Okay, so sometimes when we need to go slow, our body will give us the signal, hey, you need to slow down, so that we, if you're not actively choosing, your body will give you the signal. So you're gonna feel this either way. And then it's gonna be full speed ahead, because the Eight of Wands doesn't play around. Okay. The external, how this is showing up in your world, what's happening outside of you. Queen of Swords, again, more innovation energy. This is about personal power. This is a very lone wolf card, I would say, except be careful with that. If you have a tendency to fall into that a bit too much or be resistant to help, right? Be mindful of where you might need to make a correction on that. But I'm getting this is the will to get it done, or the will to see your ideas through. This could also be a person, right? It could be a person in your life who is helping you with the mental body. But I'm seeing this more as redirecting towards your internal world, only because it's swords. So even though it's showing up in how it's materializing in the material plane, the cards are really directing you back to the mental body, back to changing the mind. So I think it might actually be quiet environmentally this week, because there is so much mental shift that's taking place. So just keep that in mind. If you're like, why aren't things moving? Why? Okay, if you get into that, then just let yourself keep moving through it. And journaling is big this week. For those of you who do a lot of writing work, this is where you could make a lot of those tweaks. And then in the subconscious, we have the King of Rods. So work on finding your own power. What drives you? What motivates you? It's going to be different for everybody. I don't think that there's a universal push or a universal thing that drives us into taking action. So you can just feel into what is that for you. Is it a sense of competition? Is it accountability? Is it connecting to your why? Is it setting your bar a little bit lower in terms of what you need to achieve? Like, that's a specific strategy that can push you into momentum. If you just reduce your to-do list to like 2 items, right? It could make a change just based on reducing the load of work that you believe you need to get done. So ask yourself that. What is it? What are the buttons you need to push in order to get more energy for yourself? Exercise could be important for a lot of you. The advice is to go slow. I got the 4 of Swords, for those of you who are wondering. And so this is a cool toned card. What I mean is the energy is very cooling. It's not high action, high momentum. So this is going to be an internally driven week. We have a lot of mental energy that needs to be tended to, a lot of emotional energy, because the thoughts could be what's inspiring either positive emotion or negative emotion. So you're going to have to just tune into what's happening there and how can you make some adjustments for yourself. And so go slow. Don't expect things to move really fast right now, and that's just going to help you pace yourself better. Okay, let's see the external influences this week. The Magician. Look at everything that you've been creating. Personally, I like to tell myself this, but I don't know if there's actually any legitimacy to it, but I just use it for the placebo effect, which is I like to tell myself that Mercury retrograde, if I'm actively manifesting during a Mercury retrograde, that is going to amplify it, that the transit amplifies it because it's directly connected to the mental body. Now, if you're not dealing with ideal emotions this week, so emotions that you actually want to create, don't worry about it, because the energetic resonance of like a low vibration emotion doesn't actually carry as far. So the higher frequency emotions have a larger range, so you don't need to worry if you're like, well, I've been in a bad mood or I'm feeling bitchy this week. It's completely okay. Don't worry about it. I'm speaking to those who are in active manifestation mode. So the Magician is just reminding you that the conditions are ideal for you to be making these manifestation moves, if you will. It's kind of like the climate is right. The wind is perfect. The waves are perfect. The conditions are just absolutely ideal. So once again, it's so funny because I'm pulling these cards trying to get a peek at what's going on outside of you, and it keeps pointing in the direction of the internal work. So I'm getting that that's very prevalent this week. I think you've already started to see some improvements and some changes. That's really clear to me. It's just the refinement. This is a refining week. This is the details, the nitty gritty is what needs to be tended to. And then hopes and fears. Hopes and fears, we have the 7 of Cups, and I'm getting that you're feeling overwhelmed or distracted by many different options. And it's kind of like a curse and a blessing, because on one hand, there's lots of options, and on the other hand, it's, well, what if I choose wrong? What if I do it wrong? What if this isn't right? What if it's not what I should put out, or what I should pursue, or what I should ask for? So once again, the way to resolve that, in my opinion, is go into the quiet space within yourself, go into meditation, go into contemplation, allow yourself to remove distractions and actually clear your mind, because what's under the mental body is clarity. Clarity is not going to come from overthinking things to death. So in order to get around that, you want to empty the mind, clear the mind, and allow yourself to actually be in a position to where you can receive the aha, the clarity, the momentum that you desire, right? Because it starts with that initial aha, that's it. Yes, that's where I want to make the change, or that's the direction that I want to go. Okay. And the outcome of the week. Let's see. Boom, Queen of Pentacles. Don't mistake this week as being boring or a waste or any. Do not think about this week like that. Don't talk smack about this week, because it's all in service of you having a stable foundation, of you being anchored within yourself, because the shaky parts of your foundation are what need to fall away. Okay, the part of you that doubts and fears and shames and blames and judges, right? That part is going to be there, but it's about how you work with it, right? Like how this whole thing started with me judging the message that I wanted to share with you, and then judging what I was doing and being, scared. So it's about being able to work with those bits and pieces of yourself and just supporting them at each level, because everyone who's listening to this right now is at a different level of experience that they're moving through. And so your version of the Queen of Pentacles, your version of working out the bugs is going to be completely different from the bugs that I'm working out, right? In terms of how it's manifesting and how it's showing up. So just know that stability is what's ultimately coming together, and that this is a great money card. It's a great career card. So all things material, money, finances, yeah, it's all gold on that front. So enjoy the process. And this is the other thing when it comes to any type of manifestation, any work that you're doing, the healing and the clarity and the refinement matters. All of that stuff matters. It's one and the same. It's not actually, it's not like you're squandering time, or it's not in the way. Oh, it reminds me of that book title, The Obstacle is the Way. That's exactly what healing is. Any type of changes that you're making, any type of adjustments that you have coming up or that you know you need to make, that is actually how you perfect your craft, right? If you're able to come up against the obstacle and then navigate your way through it, innovate your way through it, and then come out on the other side, that's what leads to mastery. So just consider that. I'm going to pull a couple of the cards from the Sovereign Oracle. So if there's a phrase that jumps out at you as I read them, then that is for you this week. Let's see. The first card is Ask. Requesting aid takes courage. Verbalize your need for support. And I would also say this could be energetic or in the material world. Give someone the gift of being an important part of your hero's journey. Delegate it to your guides. Okay? And then we have Desire. You are worthy of your desires. Be curious and explore your soul's yearnings. Let yourself want what you want, even if you're afraid you won't or will get it. So if you simply pursue your desires, and I always say desire is the North Star, in my opinion. Like if I want it, then that's the direction that I should go, is leading down the path of what is going to get me near, around, or in the direction of my desire, because there's no failure in that. The closer you get to it, the more you step into experiencing it, the more you own it. That will never lead to regret. The thing that will lead to regret is thinking about it for 80 years, never taking action, or not even giving it a shot. It's so you just want to make sure you're at least giving yourself a chance to actually do that. And simply moving in the direction of your desires will be enough. It will be enough. I know that the ego likes to tell you that you have to land in a particular spot in order for you to be satiated by the experience. And I can tell you that is not the case. It is simply by moving in the direction of the desire that you will land where you need to. And you're going to wake up to all of the things that your soul is here to do along the way. Let's see what else. Let's just pull one more and then I'll wrap up. Play, make it a game, ask your inner child, turn things upside down, get a new perspective, have fun with it. It doesn't have to be suffocatingly serious. So allow yourself to enjoy, and that will soften things, because as soon as it becomes a life or death experience, a make or break, if it's just something that is cripplingly serious, then you're going to have a hard time moving through that quickly. It's just going to get really bogged down. So play makes things move faster. Just moving in the direction of your desires authentically, right? Speaking the truth of the moment while understanding that it can change, and not feeling pressure around your inner transformation. All right, my friends, that's a wrap. That's all I've got for you. Make sure you follow me on Clubhouse if you don't already, because let me tell you, live audio is my shit. And that's all I've got. Have a beautiful week. I will talk to you later. And I'm sending you so much love. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.